Hey guys, Adrian here, and we have a tech repair for you guys for the iPod Touch 4th generation, a replacement screen repair brought to you guys by tvc-mall.com. A huge shout out to them, guys. They are going to be sponsoring a lot more tech repair videos. This is the first of many to come. They provided me with this part. If you guys know, 2 years ago, I uploaded a iPod repair video that got a lot of views, but I didn't get to mention a lot about I didn't get to simplify it as much as I wanted to. And nowadays, with TVC sponsoring a lot of my videos, they sell tons of parts, guys. If you check out their site at tvc-mall.com, they have parts from old iOS devices like iPods and iPhones to all of the modern ones. So they have adhesives, they have connectors, they have screens, which in today's case we're looking at because iPod Touch 4th generation, it's one of the trickier devices I learned to repair. And in this case, I was able to do it in a more simpler way. Simplify the steps as easy as 1, 2, 3. So you just kind of follow through the general overview here and you'll get a hang of it. Now, this again is all brought to you by TVC-Mall, so I want to give a huge shout out to them for providing the screen for this review. And with that, let's jump right into it. Now, first off, you're going to want to get all your tools. You'll need a Phillips head 00 screwdriver. You're going to need, of course, the replacement screen, digitizer, and LCD. That's all one part here. They sell that over at TVC-Mall. You'll need a pry tool of plastic or metal, depending on your preference. And optional tools will be a heat gun and or flathead screwdriver. Heat gun, if it's your first time doing this, you're going to need to loosen up the adhesive on your device. Of course, you want your device to be completely off. If the screen's broken, cracked, whatever, you want the device to be completely off. If not, you want the battery completely drained. You do not want the device to be on during the procedure of the repair here. So here's the new screen, and with that, guys, let's get started. First off, step 1 would be, of course, to open the device. Now, this is a donated iOS, or I should say donated iPod Touch 4th generation, so this one's been banged up a little bit. It's not physically cracked on the front here, but the screen itself is broken. It does not work. So, of course, open the device. Now, I'm using the pry tool to go around the edges and loosen the adhesive. If this is your first time opening your device, it's going to be much more difficult. You may want to use a blow dryer or a heat gun to loosen the glue. And since this is a donated device, there's a couple of parts in the internals that won't look the same as yours because, again, this has been banged up and kind of messed up as is already. So once you open up your iPod Touch, you want to be wary. There's 2 cables at the top that are still connected, so do not lift the screen fully. This right here is a reference image from iFixit.com, what the inside will look like for a normal device. If this is your iPod Touch 4th generation, if this is your first time opening it, this is what it'll look like out of the factory. Essentially, there's 8 screws that you're going to need to remove. So for you guys who have this, you're going to want to remove all 8 screws and then remove that metal shield. In this case, to save time, I sped up some of the review, and like I said, there's some parts missing here, so let's just get into it. Of course, unscrew all of that, step 2, and then disconnect your connectors here. So there's 2 cables like I referenced at the top of the LCD that you're going to want to disconnect. The first one here is easily able to just disconnect using a pry tool or your fingertip here. The second one is under the logic board, so you cannot disconnect that yet. You're gonna have to do a couple of things here, so be wary of that. So just lay that flat back like you see here, that way that ribbon doesn't get ripped or anything of that sort. So once you removed all your screws here, I'm gonna go ahead and remove a couple more miscellaneous ones that I missed in the top corners. This means we're going to need to lift up the logic board. That's the reason you're lifting up all these 8 screws, so we can remove the logic board in order to take off that connector there for the display here. So you can see I've got a couple of screws. I still have one right there. You want to make sure you get all of them dealing with the logic board. Otherwise, when you're trying to lift up the logic board, you're going to have issues here. So at this point, you just see me going through removing all the screws. I like to remove the one in the top left with the Wi-Fi antenna there. That just helps me to get that out of the way. And at this point, again, I'm just making sure all the screws are taken out here. It's, very advisable that you store these in like an ice cube tray or something of that type to make sure that all your screws keep safe here. Now on the top right, you're going to want to remove the plate covering the rear camera, and I like to use a flathead screwdriver just to pop the rear camera out of its socket. You're not going to take the camera out fully. You just want to take it out of its socket. Now at this point, you're going to take a pry tool, go on the right side of the logic board, and pry just ever so slightly, lifting upwards to pop it out of its place here. So you can see how the logic board's popped out of place here. You don't want to do it with too much pressure because obviously you don't want the logic board to snap, but you do want to do it just enough so that it pops out of place here. And after you do that, what you're going to want to do is focus on this copper right there, that copper portion that I'm pointing out with the screwdriver. You need to get as much of that tape off as you can because that tape is holding down the connector that we're going to need to remove. And there is constriction on the logic board. You can only lift it up a certain degree because of on the left side right here, there's a connector that's soldered in. So again, you want to remove some of that copper tape. One of my advice right here, you can see I'm going to take a flathead, go on the left of it, and just very gently pop it upwards. And you can see there that gives me a lot more leeway to work under the logic board. Again, you can only go a certain degree. At this point, what I'm doing here is taking that flathead and going straight under that copper tape right there, just so it gives me some leeway to maneuver and take the connector out from under. So at this point, I lay it flat. I take my pry tool. I go under the connector because again, and you have to be careful. There's a soldered connection right there, so you can't you can't put a finger essentially under the logic board without snapping that. So you use that pry tool right here, and you just simply pry out till the connector till you feel it pop. And then I like to wiggle left and right because there's still a little bit of tape on the underside, and the connector should just come right out. And there's your old screen. Your old broken screen, whether it's cracked internally or externally, is now out, and that moves us on to step 3, applying the new screen here. So you can see there, again, that's the easiest step. Applying it is probably just the most difficult in terms of this step right here, redoing everything in reverse. This part right here is reconnecting that same connector we just pried out. A little bit difficult because again, you have no room under that logic board. So my best tip right here is to line it up, lift it up so slightly, just slide the connector under and align it with the connector on the bottom side. You got to kind of look at it from a side angle or a lower view that you can't really, you have to look at it with eye level essentially. Once you align it, you simply just drop the logic board on top of it and then push down with pressure where I'm pushing down right now. I'm going to put down a lot of pressure so that it snaps the connector back into place. You'll feel it, and you'll essentially also hear it here once it's aligned perfectly. If it's not aligned perfectly, the logic board's not going to push down all the way. So again, just do everything in reverse, but slide the connector under and push down on top of the logic board till it connects. At this point, I'm doing everything in reverse here, applying all the screws, putting the rear-facing camera back in its place, making sure the logic board gets all connected here, and then, of course, putting the LCD connector back. Now, keep in mind, it's common to lose a couple of these screws in these reviews, or in repairs, I should say, so don't freak out too much if you're missing 1 or 2 screws. They're very, very tiny. You just want to make sure that the main logic board screws are in place that hold the logic board down. You don't want that popping up in any capacity here. And then you can put your metal plate back on at that point as well. Also, going back to your old screen, you can go ahead and pop out that home button because that can be reused and recycled into the new home screen here. So you simply just take it out. It has some adhesive to it. You simply just apply it to your new screen like so, and you are good to go. Now, tons of adhesive is sold online. tvc-mall offers their own adhesives as well, so you can buy the tape material that they use. It's really advisable. I recommend that you get that because when closing the device here, sometimes it won't sit flush because you've messed up the old adhesive. So when you apply the new adhesive, essentially you just apply pressure to those sides. Once you close up the device here, make sure everything is lined in perfectly, make sure the sides aren't pushing upwards, and with that, you would power on the device and make sure everything runs fine here. And as you can see, the repair went 100% fine. Now, there's one issue a lot of people get when they apply a new screen, and that's a white screen just displaying. What you want to do is do a hard reset, which means holding the power button, holding the home button at the same time for 30 seconds to physically reset, do a hard reset of your device. And once that's done here, you will get your Apple logo. Now keep in mind the white screen doesn't happen for everybody, though it is a common issue when installing new hardware. After that, you're going to run various tests, make sure there's no dead pixels, dead zones, brightness issues. And I gotta give huge props to TVC. Through testing out their product and using it in the repair, no issues whatsoever. Worked the first time around. I didn't even get that white screen issue. Though, again, you can get all sorts of different parts online, cheaper and stuff like that. Some of them I've had past experience where, again, there's dead pixels. They broke right out the box. There's brightness issues. There's color issues. TVC was spot on. I give them huge props for that. So you can check out their parts again, tvc-mall. Huge props for them for providing this video and videos to come. That said, guys, music credit goes over to incompetech.com. You guys can as well check out my site over at www.digitaldojos.com and, of course, www.screencap.com. A huge thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed and look forward to more content to come. What repairs do you guys want to see? Do you guys have a broken iOS device that you would like to see fixed, whether it's a home button or some other issue? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.